And hi, Christian. Today I'm joined with Mr. Christian Lang, who is a breeder in German Shepherds for many, many years. He has the kennel name Zum Kolbenguß. He has been in the breed for many, many decades from a young age, and he has had many successful dogs. He's had a storied career in the breed, in the history of the breed, from the mid-'80s to now, where he is now a father of two beautiful young girls and a breed koermeister and a breed judge. So please take it away, Christian.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure that you chose to make this conversation with me. I'm really honored that you want to hear my opinion on several things regarding the breed. I hope that my English is not too rusty, so that it's still working, and if something is not clear, then it's probably because it's not my language, not my natural language.
We'll try our best.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Could you please start by an introduction of yourself in the breed? Introduce your kennel name, introduce your dogs, and your history in the breed, please.
All right. My name is Christian Lang. I'm 50 years old. I'm basically born into German Shepherds. My father was the founder of the kennel Zum Kolbenguß, and he started breeding before I was born. So German Shepherds, breeding, and everything that's around is practically in my gene pool since I was born. I started training dogs, I would say, at the age of 10, having my own dog for training, for trials. Started trialing with that first female I got with at the age of 12. Since then, I trained and trailed around 70, 80 dogs over the decades. I'm in the sports now. I took over the kennel name or the kennel from my father when his health passed away, and 1 year after I took the kennel, he died. So still a huge loss for me. That was in 1997. Since then, the kennel name is under my supervision. It was already before, but now it's also on the list that I'm the breeder of the Kolbenguß kennel. I did start with the training along with my family, with my father. We did showing dogs, we did trialing dogs, and we were always, let's say, small breeders, doing 1 or 2 litters a year. So that means also every trial you make is the one shot. You try the best. You try to select on the best possible way, and not only choosing by the placement. It's basically choosing by the bloodlines, by the what you expect from the breed. But everybody knows breeding is no short run. Breeding is a long run, and I'm quite proud of the situation that since, let's say, 1994, I have a consequent mother line since then, still in my kennel, doing all the blood is based on that. I was able to present a kennel group in the German Sieger Show. I was competing at the German Sieger Show in multiple classes, also internationally. I was able to have quite successful placements at the German Sieger Show. I was one of my males was able to present the progeny group at the German Sieger Show as well. And no, that was Magnum.
Magnum Zum Kolbenguß, even before Obi-Wan.
Yes,
That's right.
was before Obi-Wan, and he was able to have a progeny group at the German Sieger Show. Then Obi-Wan in the working class, quite successful. And the latest female was Sansa, now last year with SG9 in the youth class. So that was basically the highest bred female of Kolbenguß so far.
Congratulations, brilliant accomplishment. I remember we met back in 2007 in Bombay in India when you were presenting your quantum aminu son, Justin from Zum Kolbenguß, in a very hard class where he finished V4 out of 50 some dogs. Could you please talk about your idea of the German Shepherd around the world?
That's a tough question. I guess German Shepherds around the world should not matter in which country it is. When we think of a German Shepherd, for me, the first thing that matters is expression, because there is some sort of elegance in a German Shepherd dog that no other dog race represents. And if a German Shepherd enters a field or enters also a restaurant, the people look, and if the expression is outstanding, then everybody will see that it's a beautiful dog, whether they know something about dogs or not. And so the expression of a German Shepherd is what's mattering the most, and what's the most outstanding point in the breed for me.
Also, to the point you make about a dog walk into a restaurant, that's kind of a foreign or alien concept in America, since dogs are not allowed in that capacity in many places in the United States. But it is a brilliant idea, nevertheless. What about the character of the same dog? When you're looking at a dog that's a beautiful dog to look at, he's got a very good expression, he's got a very noble expression, but then we have a problem with the character. Would that immediately cause problems for the impression of the breed, if you will, to the general public?
Of course. If we put the situation with the restaurant situation, in Germany it's rather common that you take your dog to the restaurant, and so all we do now in the Wesens test, in the character test we established a couple of years ago, this goes along with the possibility that the dog fits in society. You can take him up to the stairs on a rather flat floor, and he's not affected by that. He is calm, he's friendly, he is not aggressive towards people, and he has no stress. He's just relaxed. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to prove in the character test, that different situation doesn't cause stress to the dog. And that's also the thing we should show in public. And if a dog is not capable of doing that, then it's obviously that there is an issue in the character, and that reflects badly on the rest of the population.
Absolutely. Could you please tell me a little bit about your early influences in the breed, the people that you looked up to, the people you considered mentors in the breed, and that helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah. Being at the age of 50 means I'm born in the early 70s. So I grew up in, first memories of dogs, late 70s, early 80s. So that was the era, the last days of Dr. Rummel, who was president, and the beginning of the era of Hermann Martin. The two Martin brothers, they lived not far away from us. Viernheim is about half an hour away from us. Both were responsible for our breed surveys we did. So we we had to stay in touch with them and their thinking of breed, dogs, and sports. And the first thing I remember is Sieger shows in Mannheim, where huge crowds have been, a lot of dogs, and it was also the beginning of the dominant Palme-Wildsteiger Land sons, Quanto and Uran. Yeah, I would say the most influential dogs in the last 50 years, probably. So that was the first main impression that I had to see two males having that much influence on the breed. When you at that time, nowadays we also have progeny groups with 80 dogs entered or so. But at that time, we had progeny groups with 80 dogs presented. And
wow,
almost all of them were from different kennels, showing the breeding basis we had at that time, at the early 80s, with almost 30,000 puppies a year. Yeah? Different times. I definitely learned a lot from my father. I definitely learned a lot of Walter Martin and Hermann Martin. Especially with Walter Martin, we had to deal a lot. Also in training, and he was also able to share his knowledge. And it was nice to see for me as a kid, growing young man, to listen. My father always used to say, when we were at a show, go look what the Cutters brothers do when handling a dog. That makes sense. Go listen what they what the judge says about the dog. That's what you need to learn when you look at the dog. So it's all about looking and listening when you are young, and someday you start to do it yourself. But it's not like nowadays that I was put in a spot. I had to earn this spot. I had to work for it. It took a while until I got the opportunity to handle the first dog in a show. I guess I was 14 or 15. And of course, I started with last place. So today, the kids, sometimes you have the impression that they only want to handle a dog if they make first place. That's why we have only one dog in the class. So, yeah, it's different times. It didn't hurt me to start with last place, but that's how it started.
I'm very happy that you mentioned the Curtis brothers. We talk about the pillars of the breed in dogs, talk about pillars of the breed in people. Wonderful people, both the brothers Werner Cutters and Walter Cutters, and absolute stalwarts who are looked upon as the pinnacle of handling in the German Shepherd breed for many decades, even today. Highly respected people, both of them. And I'm also happy that you mentioned the Martin brothers, perhaps the most influential brothers in the breed in the last 40 years, the last 4 decades. And the shape of the breed as we know it, I would say, how the breed has shaped out to be is because of their push, their marketing of the German Shepherd to the entire world, how the dog should look, the noble look we were talking about in the beginning, how the Ausdruck of the dogs or the expression of the dogs, how the dog must look, how the common public perceives the dog, is I would attribute it to the Martin brothers, both Wienerhau and Arminius.
Definitely, yeah.
And reflecting from the past to moving to the current situation, could you please give me a little opinion of yours on the state of the breed? We can discuss the anatomy of the dogs. We can discuss the temperament and the health of the dogs from where we were, where we are, and remaining on this current path, where we might go.
also a very wide field, of course. When I go back in memory, at the beginning of the 80s, we had no splitting in working line or show line. This started in the 80s, I would say. And I guess this is one severe milestone regarding the breed, in my opinion, because the division of the population, which everybody denies that it's one breed, but it's definitely two populations at least that we have, made a turning point in the exterior and also in the character of the dogs. We starting in the 80s with the era of Hermann Martin judging the males. We also established the look on the dogs we have still right now, and this is, in my opinion, the sloping backlines. Best example is Jack Noricum, who really had a very sloping backline, but he had a huge influence on the breed, and he also produced very well, no doubt about that. But if you reflect the current situation we are in, and the discussion we have about the standing of the breed in the public opinion, and probably these decisions to promote that type of dog had an influence on that, because these dogs are in almost every gene, every pedigree far behind, but they are there. Yeah? So these two things made a huge effort on the anatomy of the dogs. Working line dogs developed towards lower withers, and not every breeder in the working line paid attention to the anatomical standard. As long as the dog is good enough for G rating, it's okay for breeding, as long as the character is and the working abilities is right. So I guess that was not always the cleverest idea. On the other side, the exterior, only looking at the exterior and not facing the parts we need also, like character, working ability, and health on the show line, is also not the cleverest idea. It's always best to find a way that you can have all under one head, as we say. Probably only a German expression. Get it under one head.
It's a good one. So now you mentioned the Martin brothers, for under whose supervision the division actually occurred. We talk about the pillars of the breed. We're only mentioning, as far as the pillars, we mentioned Schwanto Wienerau, to which male we can trace back literally every single male that's in the top positions these days. Every one of those dogs traces its lineage back to Schwanto Wienerau. Then we had Marco Cellalan, who's not so popular in public opinion. A lot of people don't know about Marco. Then we have Kanto, and we have Mutz. Mutz has basically diminished the type you don't see because he didn't really produce his type. You see him both, and there's some pedigrees of working lines as well. You see him, people like to famously claim that Remo represents the Mutz line, which could be it's not even close to the truth. It's not the Mutz line. Just because he has him in the father side directly does not make him the Mutz line. It's would we be doing a disservice when we saying just these three males are the pillars of the breed, when we have a whole different population of dogs? like we have, which have severely been influenced by dogs like Troll from Bozen Pasha, and we have Mink and other dogs like this, that would also be regarded as the pillars of the breed, not just these three males. And we can argue Kanto had only 35 breedings and was class 2. So would this dog be actually considered a pillar in the breed because he had such few breedings? There's other dogs that appear in many more pedigrees, much more heavily they're featured. Wouldn't be a better case to make those dogs, I'm not saying take something away from these dogs, but also add those dogs to address the real situation we have today in the entire breed. That's why maybe the working line people are so eager to say, oh yeah, it's two populations. The show dogs are another breed and we are another breed. Of course, we are specializing breeding for, let's say, a show picture. No, I wouldn't say correct anatomy. I would say more of a fancy show picture for dog fancy. And the other side is breeding more for drive. They're breeding more for speed. They're breeding more for power. And they're not looking so much to the overall picture.
Yeah, as I said, the pillars of the breed is hard. For me, it's hard to describe. It's the on the working line we have these pillars you mentioned. Yeah, it's and when you look at I can only refer to the German population, but it's
yes, almost
half of the we have around about 9,000 puppies each year in the last year, and I would say around 4,000 is working line and 5,000 is show line. Sure. So when you have the working lines, they have their pillars, and they have nothing to do with Quanto Vinao. Of course not.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. And even if there would be a Quanto Vinao back there, because in the 70s when Quanto Vinao was a stud male, probably some of his offspring also went to the working line later on.
Sure.
But nobody would consider Quanto Vinao a pillar of the working line breed, I would say.
Yeah, it's safe to assume that, I would say.
Yeah. So, and when you go to the show lines, we have several. We talk about bottleneck in the gene pool. I guess we had several bottlenecks so far.
Yes. Yeah.
We had for me the narrowest bottleneck definitely was Palme.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had the two males out of Palme that did had a lot effect on the breed, and in the first years, everybody was saying, "Oh, no breed on Palme, no line breeding on Palme," and once somebody started it and said, "Oh, that looked fine, let's do it," and then since then we had a mixture, and if we would do a pedigree with 10 ancestors, we would see how much line breeding we have in the back of our pedigree. So that's probably one reason that genetics or bloodlines is not necessary anymore, because it's all so narrowly related that we cannot sincerely discuss bloodlines when we have at least at 5th or 6th positions in the ancestors the same. That has nothing to do with bloodlines. When you look at one of the huge bloodlines that Lothar Kroll made every year, and you see that there is one part from Horand, and then we have one huge outcome of. So you can't sincerely discuss bloodlines anymore. It's
absolutely.
It's more and more it's not genetics, it's exterior. And exterior is not only the anatomy, it's also the character, but it's what we see. We breed on what we see, not what we expect to have in the genes. Because genetics is, I'm no genetic expert, but I would say if you ask a medicine who is involved in genetics, he would say it's all the same.
Yeah, right, absolutely. It's essentially the same family. It's like saying my cousin is not related to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so that brings us to the question of looking at pedigrees, looking at line breedings, and solely basing decisions of line breedings. There was a very famous. Now I keep bringing this back up. You mentioned Walter Martin. Now I can only think of the things he said. You mentioned Mr. Martin. He said in a famous interview that you must look at the blood first. That was definitely a question when he was breeding.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the blood, you're looking at the feature of that bloodline or that pedigree, where those dogs are coming from. Now there is no need to look at the blood because literally every single dog has the same grandfather. You cannot find dogs that are away from Vegas to Banzad. Every single pedigree has this dog featured multiple times. And with the goods and bads that each dog brings, he brought his own. Then for a certain period of time, you could not find dogs outside of Quenleuweg. And the goods and bads, I mean, we don't need to, discuss individual dogs, but those problems were a part of the breed. What we were doing always was trying to find short-term solutions, in my opinion, instead of looking at the big picture to go away and find the forgotten brothers and sisters of our dogs that were on the other side of the aisle that is now, mentioned as the other breed, which was, we had bicolor VA dogs, we had black VA dogs, we had dogs with deep saddles and tan bodies that were VA dogs back in the past. And today we see none of that. And those dogs would not even make a V rating today, some of those dogs, when that is the correct anatomy. And to see the disparity between the anatomies of the quote unquote top dogs today and the trend that is going forward versus the other population of the breed, where they might not be all great dogs, but there are some excellent dogs on that side. And just the disparity is too high where we cannot, look sane when we say, okay, this is a V with the round top line and the excessive pronounced hind angulation and the extremely deep fronts with the short forelegs with a really over pronounced head, over typified head, and also a dog on the other side that this is a V with long, with not enough depth or substance in the chest. And then we have straight back, not just the straight back. I'm not just talking about the thoracic back, but a straight lumbar back and a straight sacral back, where the dog has very good jumping potential, but the dog has a hard time in the trot when moving in the ring at a normal speed. Could you please talk about that a little bit more from where we were to where we are in the anatomy of the dogs, the exterior, as you put it?
I guess you mentioned one important point. When we describe a dog, or when we read or listen to a description of a dog by a judge, we fairly often hear the phrase straight back. And my wife is a veterinarian, and she comes from horses. She had
also a talented breeder.
Also talented breeder of Jack Russell, yes, exactly. But her basics were in the horses. And when the first time we met, and she went to the shows, she asked me, why is that called a straight back? Because the back is curvy. And I said, yeah, you're right. Why is it called straight back? I have no idea. That's what they say, straight back. And recently I saw a picture where the angles of the top line were marked, and you could see that in the current top-rated dogs, you find an angle from the withers to the end of the croup that is so far away from what it should be that you ask yourself, why is this dog still phrased with a straight back? And everybody is talking about the over-typization and the over-angulation in the hindquarters. I would say that the problem is the back situation. When you have people looking for a puppy, and they come to visit the litter, and if they are not involved in sports or breeding, so they want a family dog, and they come visiting, and they say, "Oh, but I don't want those curvy dogs." I said, "Take a look. Oh, you have a line that is not so curvy." And I said, "Well, it might look curvy to somebody, but probably they are not that curvy referring to others. But it's still a problem that we are promoting the dogs with the highest withers you can imagine to the deepest layer of the group. And if you don't get away from that, then the public will not accept where we are going with the breed.
The diagrams we use to describe our dogs for the education of our judges and the audience in general are extremely or starkly different from the dogs that are winning. And my favorite is when you're putting all these angles and all this stuff on a picture of a dog, which might be manipulated to begin with. This is a tragedy, I should say, which has become a comedy.
Yeah. The thing with the photos is a different issue. In times of social media, where the people are so paying attention on how they look and how their hair is and how the makeup fits and if the body shape is okay or not, it's quite, yeah, you look good.
Thank you, so do you.
For me, it's, oh no, my time is over.
Yeah, we're both fathers now, so we're out the game.
Yeah, definitely. Haven't slept since 7 years, I guess.
I get a test for the last 2.
So I guess it's just normal that you try to take away the not so perfect parts in a picture. I remember when I had Magnum, that was 2007. Yes, 2007. I went to the photographer Mendele. He made his photos with Mendele, yeah? So, and Magnum had one problem. Sometimes when I didn't pay attention, he had a little curl on his croup. And at that day when we're doing the photo, he had that curl on the croup. And I just couldn't get rid of it. And I said, I need more time to fix that. It will take another hour, then I'm fine. And he said, "Don't worry, I have a comb at home."
That's great.
And we started with that, and and some now are artists in fixing. Yeah, but I wouldn't.
We don't need to mention names. Everybody knows who they are.
Yeah, no, they do. For me, they do great jobs as well. It's the fact that everybody takes their pictures now by them is the proof that they are doing a great job. Sure. And the fact that everybody in the whole world is looking at these pictures and just pointing out how great the dogs look makes everybody think that this is how it should be. Yeah. Because nobody I mean, nobody wants to see a dog in a bad position. Why should you want to see that? And
Absolutely.
It's no benefit for the guy who takes the picture.
Yeah.
It's no good reputation for the dog or the breeder or the owner, and it's a moment shot, just a bad moment. We all have bad moments, looking like total goofs. Why can't a dog look like a total goof? And it's not necessary to take this picture to show that the dog is not like that perfection we have on the other side. Yep. We have a show in Germany, you probably have the same, it's Germany's Next Top Model. What are they doing? They are modeling these girls in the perfect possible way. And of course, these are these girls. But they are shaped in profession. And we have the dogs that the people want to be the same. They are supermodels.
Sure.
You don't want to have the supermodel with a paparazzi picture with the hair in the face and the makeup from yesterday. Nobody wants to see that. Only those guys or people who want to make fun of them. Everybody else wants to see
the gallery.
That's Heidi Klum. She's perfect.
Yeah.
So that's let's say that's Bondo. He's perfect. That's Usha. He's perfect. That's what they want to see, and that's what these people who are doing the photographs deliver. And I think it's okay. Everybody has the possibility to make his own look at it. Why shouldn't he? But why should they not make a really possible, the most possible perfect photo? So, I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay is to judge a dog by the photo.
Absolutely. When the forehand of the dog and the rear quarters of the dog are not in the same plane anymore. And this is with if you remember, in the late 80s, early 90s, everybody, when they stack the dog, they want to push the butt of the dog down to show the exaggerated wither and the back and the sloping back, because our backs, now I feel like some people have achieved this type of dog. You don't need to press the butt anymore. The dog just normally stands like that. What they're joked about as frog dogs, the rear quarter has become so exaggerated. There's also a reality of some of our dogs. The rear quarters are so exaggerated and the backs have become so long that the dogs cannot have a functional anatomy. Of course, maybe there's one very nice Schauspieler in the litter that becomes all that in a bag of chips and he grows up to be this excellent male. But how many dogs did it take on average to produce that male or that female when there were so many other dogs in the litter that had crooked hinds and they had these roast backs, like your wife had mentioned? Why are they calling this a straight back? This is a round back. So
we are definitely still suffering from the mistakes we made in the late 90s, beginning 2000s. The deeper the dog was, the better. And we are still suffering under bad mistakes we made, because the most effort to in breeding is to change anatomy.
Yes.
And once we changed anatomy towards extremely high withers, towards extremely low croup layer, this took a while, and now to get the turnaround is even more complicated.
Absolutely. The name of the breed is German Shepherd dog. So we know we have a tending breed which must tend to the flocks of sheep in its aspiration, in its purest form, running around all day long like a moving fence containing the animals in one space. When you have such an exaggerated anatomy, which is even more typicized by these handlers that have the leashes up in the air and they're trying to run with the biggest strides possible at the fastest speed possible. The whole stadium is cheering. Oh, look at that dog go. He's running up right behind the first dog and he must gain a place. We tend to forget the idea, the entire idea of the breed, a dry and firm dog. I remember there used to be a saying in Germany, the back needs to be so straight and so level and so firm that you can put a glass of beer on it and nothing must spill.
Yeah.
That dog doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, no, I would say it's also, yeah, when you mentioned the movement and the presentation, for me, I gave a lot of thought on off-leash presentation. When we look at the current Sieger and the pictures, everybody is fascinated about their off-leash presentation. But
it's excellent training. Excellent training.
Yeah. Is that what we want to see by the off-leash? We wanted to see by the off-leash how the dog is able to present himself without the help of the leash. If he is held up by his training, this doesn't show if he's able to carry his withers still in a level position or if he's falling down on the forehand or not, because everything is covered just by the training effort. It's like when the working dogs do obedience, which is also for me exaggeration, because it's not a normal movement, but also we have in both fields, working and show line, we have obviously the judges following the wishes of the audience. The spectacular obedience is the head turning around like 100 degrees towards the handler, which causes neck problems for me by looking. And we, on the other hand, we have the presentation, as you said, the faster and the more spectacular in front reach and everything. Everybody is cheering, the whole stadium is cheering. So that's what the people want to see. And it's up to the judges to say, this is quite nice, but it's not what we really need to see.
The difficult decisions. It's easy to go with the crowd. You know, they say an elephant riding a tricycle wearing a jacket in a circus is quite spectacular to look at. Doesn't make it right.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Lang, could you please talk to me about the character of our dogs, how it used to be in the past, and where do you think it's trending at the moment, and where do you think we're headed? And what, if something, you change something from the current trend, what would it be?
Right. I remember that the dogs when I was young, that they were rather hesitant towards new things, towards people, towards new situations. And that's quite how it's written also in the standard. The German Shepherd needs to be a little careful. It's not that he's friendly to everybody. He needs to watch, to check the situation and then make the decisions. What we have now is we want the dogs, the puppies, to be open and free and friendly to everything right away. If we have a puppy that is a little hesitant when he is young, when the first time we put him on the street, we put him in a different situation, we just right away start thinking, this is a bad habitude, this is a bad character, how can we fix it? But on the other hand, that's natural, that's okay, that's fine. But our expectation is much higher. We want them to be the super friendly Golden Retriever German Shepherd with the working ability of a Malinois. That's what we want. And I think this is difficult to achieve.
And I think with this mentality, we don't become the Golden Retriever, and we certainly don't want to become the Malinois. Because the German Shepherd, people choose the German Shepherd for what the German Shepherd is. So if we want a Golden Retriever type temperament, we must go get a Golden Retriever or a Labrador Retriever. But the interesting statistic in America is there's high incidence of Golden Retriever bites, I read this somewhere, than German Shepherd bites on average because of numbers, because Golden Retriever is more popular as a breed in the German Shepherd. And there's nervous dogs in every population. In the Golden, I've seen plenty of Golden Retrievers that are nervous dogs, like, and I've seen plenty of Malinois that are nervous dogs, and also, of course, German Shepherds. I think we're lacking the golden middle, which we talk about with our dogs, you know, the jack of all trades, the master of none, but it's better to be a jack of all trades than the master of one. So the ability of our dogs to be able to do everything.
Yeah, that's what we like to describe the German Shepherd as the I guess the English word is decathlon.
The decathlon, yes.
Yes,
like the store.
No, not the store.
But the concept is exactly the same, where you can do everything.
The athlete who does the decathlon, the 10 different things. In none of them they are really good, but everybody else is not able to do all the 10 things.
Like the Ironman competition.
Yeah, that. Yes, and that's that's what a German Shepherd is about. So many possibilities to work and to fit in, like hardly any other dog.
But where do you think we're trending at the moment with our dogs, with the character, with the resilience of our dogs? We talk about the strong character with the bite work. There's always a big conversation about the temperament of the dogs, especially the dogs from the show side of things, about their drive, the lack of drive, so they must be more stronger, so on and so forth. Then we have a conversation about the working lines, that some dogs are too much. They're not stable in outside situations with other people, with different surfaces, but they're extremely fast to the long bite. They jump really high. They're really high in their mentality and obedience. But it's not a complete dog. It's just a sport dog. It's like an appliance. It's not a living being anymore when we pigeonhole dogs so much into one field.
Yeah. I would say that first of all, I think we don't have a major issue regarding the character of our dogs or our breed in general.
So in your opinion, we're trending in a positive direction?
I'm pretty sure that the direction is okay. Of course, there are some showline dogs that are hard to trial because they are dumb like nut or weak like soap. No problem, that can be, but it needs to be for a breeder. You need to make the right decisions if you have that. On the other hand, we have definitely in the working line dogs that are hard to handle, that even the specialists say this is really difficult. So, and these two extremes are definitely not what we want and what a breeder should work for. It's okay to try to have the best in when it comes to working ability, to look for highest temperament, most of drive, but controllable, able to fit in a family home as well. If that's not working anymore, then you need to change your breeding goals. And on the other hand, when a showline breeder is not able to teach his dog to sit because he's just not able to do a sit. Why on earth should he do that? Or if he's just not able to grab a toy, to play, to tug, and then the breeder of this showline, he should also reflect his goals if he needs to change something, because that cannot be the goal, because it's I don't want to use this phrase always that we breed for the work, or the work goes for the show or whatever. It's everybody should do what he's supposed to do.
I think it's a big disservice we do to our breed when we pigeonhole our dogs as show lines or working lines, because in the end it is one race and it must be able to do everything. It must not do it at an extremely high level, but it must be able to do everything.
Yeah. And also, of course, what we also need to face is that when it comes to the to what a dog needs to show in the working field, that the bar is quite high.
Yes.
As I said, I tried a lot of dogs. When I was younger, I trained a lot of dogs. And at that time, I guess I made a good job with them, and it was of course at that time when I trained a lot of dogs, it was let's say time is money. The faster everything is done, the better it is. So, yep. And at that time, it was possible to train a dog to the Schutzhund 1 within a time frame of 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow.
You know, there were things possible. You could grab a collar. You don't have the high jump or everything. A little bit easier.
Yeah. And
now the basic, the IGP1 is a high level, a really high level. And achieving that is not that easy anymore. So training is of no way, you need to do it. But if you put the bar always higher, it's quite difficult for the people to jump over it, and some just walk through it.
Do you think it might be actually discouraging for a lot of people and making people walk away from the sport because the bar is so high and we have a few professional trainers that have emerged? In Germany, it's almost like a cottage industry, that there's some very good trainers that take a lot of dogs for training, and overall it defeats the purpose of the breed test when you've got one specialist training 30 dogs for different people who cannot themselves bring the dog to that level.
Yes, that's definitely one of the reasons why the breed is going down. Yeah. About 2 years ago, I made English word. I asked the breeders of my Landesgruppe. I'm the regional breed warden of Württemberg, and I asked the breeders who did not breed the last 5 years why they did not breed. Because we are the third largest Landesgruppe in Germany, with only around 50 breeders left.
Wow.
We have 4,000 members and only 50 breeders left. So I would say that's not good. And so I asked them why. And we had, I guess, about 150 forms sent out with different questions and different possible answers. And most of them, I guess about 40% was the reason, age and everything, that it's too much to invest to finally have a breeding female.
Yeah.
It's you need all the health tests, you need the character tests, BH, AD, IGP, or ZAP, or whatever, and all that is a huge effort. And nowadays, when that's also a thing that changed a lot within the years from the 80s to now. The time you have besides job, the people spent differently. In the 80s, they were happy to go to the training field.
Yes.
3 or 4 times a week. Sunday morning, tracking, obedience, bite work. That's it. And then go home, family lunch. So that was the thing the people did in Germany at that time.
It was a lifestyle. It was a lifestyle.
And this changed. The people want more from life.
Yep.
And if you are forced to spend so many hours in training for achieving a breeding female, with all the extra effort afterwards, some of them say, why? I have better ways to waste time. Yeah, it's a difficult situation, and for me, as I always said, last week already, if you increase the bar and lift it higher and higher and higher, it's like the Tour de France. If you want 3,000 kilometers over the highest mountains in the Alps within every shorter time, then some of the clever ones, they find ways to do it with less effort. And that's the same.
True.
We have some specialists, they do a great job.
Yes.
They get paid.
Without a question.
And we have some specialists, they found great ways to go around it. And I think the result is the same. The normal people who do the sports for the breed, they just disappear. Yep. Because they don't want to spend the money.
Yep.
That is at least a monthly wage. And they don't want to cheat. So what's left?
Just the club disintegrating.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I don't know how the numbers in the United States are doing with the puppy population, but in Germany, when you look at the puppy population from 2007, 2008 to now, it's half. We had 17, 18,000 in 2008, and now we are 9,000, and I'm pretty sure this year will be less.
In the United States, it's a similar situation. So now what we have seen is the emergence of the big breeder, I would say. So these breeders make many, many, many litters a year. Some make around 50 litters a year. You have a big influx of puppies from these people into the population of dogs in the United States. And the smaller breeders, and these are the breeders that are also supporting the show. So some breeder comes with 30 dogs to a show, another breeder comes with 20 dogs to a show, another breeder brings 15 dogs to a show. And it's impossible for a small breeder who breeds maybe 1 litter in a few years or 1 litter in 1 year and to bring or to hold a puppy from that litter. It's none of this is paying for the expenses that are incurred from sending the dogs for titles or titling yourself. You're driving it in the United States, the distances are really great. So I can give you my own example. Every morning you're driving for tracking, it's 1 hour plus to go tracking. Then you're driving later on today. I'm the helper for my club. So I will go train at the club. It's 1 hour to go to the club, 1 hour to come back. Already 4 hours in the day are gone. And I haven't done anything with my dog yet. But to encourage our small community, you have to get involved with all your club members and your people to bring them up with you. If I could just if I was only training my dog, it would not take so much time. But if I'm trying to help my little community that we have, our little group, then I must spend the time with them. And they also feel very discouraged when some breeders come with 15 dogs and maybe they have 1/6 position, but the guy has 3 dogs in the class in front of them. Another guy has 4 dogs in the class in front of them. Of course, with greater numbers comes better positions because your probabilities increase. I think the same is the case in Germany. There's German breeders that are small German breeders that are disappearing. And you've got the breeders from adjacent countries that breed many, many, many litters, hailed as the greatest thing since sliced bread, just because they're able to put more numbers on the field. It's, let's say you've got 10 or 15 females in the working class. Yeah, better 5 place in good positions. Otherwise, you shouldn't be breeding.
Yeah, yeah, sure. It's of course the main problem is the same in Germany. The small breeders with 1 litter, 2 litters, who do it for themselves to keep 1 or 2 puppies, to raise them, to train them, to show them. They are almost gone.
Yeah. And the people I was talking in my group, they're not some uneducated people. We've got 3 doctors in our group. We've got a lawyer in our group. So these are people that are quite successful in their life and they're doing it for the love of the breed. We've got an architect in our group. These people are not, just run-of-the-mill people that are just, oh, this is what gives purpose to my being in the world. Like you yourself are a lawyer by profession. So the German Shepherds are not a mainstay. But when there's people that are just focusing on this and churning out litters over and over and over, making more puppies, it's just, it becomes, I think it builds a toxic environment overall for people that are trying to compete at a smaller level, in my opinion. But then it's a necessary evil as well, because if these people weren't there, the sport would go away. There's 10 dogs in a dog show instead of 50.
Yeah.
And so it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, that's what we are facing right now. We had last weekend, there was a show in Germany with 19 entered. This weekend, we have a show with 50 entered, 3 judges ordered.
Wow.
The day after, the 1st of May, is a holiday in Germany. We have a show also with 2 Sieger Show judges, 40 entered.
Wow, that's sad. This is not heard of before.
Yeah, it's and the situation is getting worse. We are in really difficult times, and it's when you are as a judge, it's not fun to judge 10 classes with 2 dogs in it.
Yeah, it's sad, definitely.
Yeah.
This show, I mean, then I'm happy about the number we had. We had a small show in December and we had 55 entries. So
yeah,
we're ahead of Germany.
Yeah, and I'm doing 1 show on Sunday with the 50 dogs. I'm one of the 3 judges. Yeah. And I do 1 show on Monday. I'm judging alone 60 entries. Wow. I have no idea why that. No idea.
Well, I'm happy the breeders have confidence in you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's me or the club or whatever. I'm not.
Just take the credit.
Yeah.
The other question I want to speak about is the inability for our club to able to show to the general public the leaps and bounds we've made, like we discussed, the dogs, the temperaments are better. Overall, the health is trending in a positive direction with the controls we've placed with the hips and elbows. And we've talked about the Vaison test, the character assessment test that we have instituted for the young dogs to come up. But the club is not able to produce a positive image for our dogs to the general public. Still, the main discussion in the public is, oh, look, the dogs are so unhealthy. They look like they have bad hips. Well, it's not true because the extra control has been made for the dogs. So what would you have to say about that? Would you have any comments for that?
It's the discussion you're mentioning when you walk your dogs and people step to you and the first thing they say, this dog is sick. He must have hip dysplasia. I said, wow. It's because of the back and I want to have your radio eyes that I can
Superman eyes
on the outside. That would be great. But no, fun beside. It's really sad that we are not able to do a proper marketing to show the public what we have established since 1960 for the health of our dogs. We are the leading breed in the world when it comes to health. And we are the only thing we do, even up to the top positions of our club, are facing only the major issues we have, pointing out how bad the image is, that we're promoting bad images. Of course, the situation we already spoke about, the sloping backlines, that needs to be corrected. There needs to be, let's say, a statement within the judges worldwide that we don't want to have the too slopey dogs anymore. We need to get rid of that. But that definitely needs to define a goal where the breeding should go to within the next 3 or 4 generations.
Yes.
Because breeding, as I already said, is no short run. It's a marathon. Yeah. Breeding is about generations. It's talking about generations. You cannot change the exterior of the dogs within 1 generation or 1 show. That's not possible. And when you are judging a competition at that show, there are 2 things you need to remember. One is the rating. Is it G, SG, or V? And the other thing is the placement, because it's still a competition.
Yes.
Yeah, you can have 10 V dogs, but from these 10 V, 1 must be the first.
Yes.
So, and if we cannot define which, let's say, fault, anatomical fault is more severe than the other one, then everybody will do what he wants.
Yep.
I tried for several years now to point out that we should find a system to compare what is more important. Where do we want to go to? For example, is it more problematic if a dog has a bad front line or unstable backhand? What is more important? What is worse?
Yeah.
If you have one dog with the crooked front and one with the crooked back, which should be ahead? This is a decision a judges committee should say. They should say, if that's the point, for us, this point is more severe. because we need to face the fact that this is our goal we want to achieve. And as long as we are not able to define goals in breeding for the next 3, 4, 5 generations, the judges will not have a way to follow. And that's what it's about. We need to define that. And once this is established, then we can also focus on showing the public what we are doing, that we are doing character tests, that we are doing health tests, that we are doing size measuring, that we already worked hard on the oversized. The thing, size was a huge issue a couple of years ago. Size is no issue any longer.
Yes.
And it's also always, it was just the decision, if a dog is taller than that, he has no chance to be in the top positions anymore.
Yes.
That was the game changer. Size is no issue anymore. And this happened really fast.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure if we can define a clear structure on that, we also can solve these issues. Not as fast as size, probably, but we can solve it. And if we show the public what we are working on, instead of pointing out what is wrong with our dogs, then the public will notice the positive sides versus the negative sides. If you only point out the negative sides, like some of the leaders of our club are doing, then the public will notice that. If I'm running a firm, I'm running a law firm, and if I do tell our clients, oh, we did that and that and that case went really shit, we messed really up, how many of them would say, oh, they did great jobs, let's do it again with them? No, they would say, oh, if they did that bad job, maybe we should switch. And they are right. It's the same here. If you promote your product, the breed, in the worst possible way, why should anybody follow us?
That's a very good point. Absolutely. I remember just by the law firm example you gave me, there was an airline, an American airline, that was getting a lot of complaints after, they would change the flight, the same plane would be reused for the next flight. So what they were doing in their hurry to turn over the plane, they were not cleaning the trays, the tray that comes down that you for your eating and stuff. They were not cleaning those trays properly, because they eliminated that time expense to turn the flight around quicker for the benefit of the customers. They got a lot of complaints, how the people are noticing, oh, maybe the wing was not straight the whole flight, it looked really unsafe, I felt vibrations in the plane, so on and so forth. So people were thinking about new things in their mind, that this was wrong with the plane, that was wrong with the plane, the planes don't feel safe, so on and so forth. They instituted that expense back again to clean the trays and to make sure the housekeeping was 100% after every turnover. Maybe the flight it added half an hour to the prep time of the plane, but their complaint levels dropped drastically just by that little one change, by making sure that presentation is clean to the customers. All of a sudden, the plane wasn't vibrating for the customers anymore. Everything was great.
Yep. So we can discuss issues within our group. But we need to spread the positive things to the public. Because
the biggest thing in my, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I said there's definitely work. We don't have achieved something we can lean back and say, oh, everything is fine. No, we need to keep working. But we also should be proud of what we have achieved already.
Absolutely. I think we have a very, as a hobby, we are a very, very small, infinitesimally small group of people. We don't have mass, because it's a lot of work. To raise the dogs in the right way in the SV system is a very hard job. It's not for everybody. And the group is of dog fancy, just dog fancy in general. The people who love their dogs, who want to trial their dogs, who want to show their dogs, are very, very small, infinitesimally small. And as opposed to, let's say, people that like cars or whatever, for example, when we are fighting in our own group on these little nuances that mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. You know, we talk about, let's say, eye color, or we talk about, I don't know, trending health, or we talk about the number of teeth in the dog's mouth. Or there was a conversation where this judge made a really big deal on social media about how you say the word ouse. One ouse is different than the other ouse. I will take points from you. Or we must look. It's not a serious thing. Come on, let's not peel the hair so much that there's no more hair left. When we have actual people that are trying to hurt us as a community, there's some people that don't want the sport to exist anymore. There's people that don't want dog ownership to exist anymore, to basically take away our way of life. If we don't unite forces against all these people, and I'm not just talking about German Shepherd people, FCI, under the FCI umbrella, all these different breeds under the AKC umbrella, people worldwide, our first goal is the love of dogs, and that we want to live with our dogs, and we want to enjoy our life with the companionship of a dog, whether it's a German Shepherd or anything else. And when we can't achieve peace in this tiny group, how can we expect to progress forward? What would you have to say to that?
You're right.
And any thoughts? If I would, thank you. So if I was to give you a magic wand like Harry Potter, here you go, Mr. Lang. You can wave this and all the problems will go away. What all would you change?
Peace on earth.
I mean, that's a fantastic idea, but just starting with our German Shepherds. How about that? Just a small part. It's a small one.
You brought up the Harry Potter. So
yeah, there we go.
Yeah. What would I change? It's hard. It's hard. Really, that's a really hard question. In Germany, we are facing now a new law regarding that will affect the dog sports in general. And this law states that dogs with special marks, like the short-nosed French bullies,
sure,
or the dogs with no hair, or the reverse hair, but also hip dysplasia, are elements that are not, that is a wrong reading, let's say. I can't describe it better. My English is too bad for that. And this law says if a dog is bred under these circumstances, he might be banned from every competition. And now we have in Germany, we have large FCI shows with different kind of breeds, with 5,000 entries or so, different breeds, all different breeds. And now at that shows, it already started that the the local veterinarian council said, if you want to enter your dog to this show, you need to prove there is no mark that's bad breeding from, as I said. So, and when this law came out, I said, didn't the SV or the VDH is the top organization in Germany? Why didn't they interfere? Why should we? I said, because this will affect our sports. How come? I said, let's face it. If they will say that hip dysplasia in a breed is a huge problem, then the whole breed is banned.
Yes.
It won't be that bad. Okay, now, last week, the first show, German Shepherd show, get this regulation. All the dogs entered need to prove that they are free from hip dysplasia by veterinarian testimony. So their stamp in the pedigree is not enough. A dog without a stamp needs to be checked by a veterinarian first that he can enter the show. And this will not only be facing shows, this also goes to IGP, to agility. And for example, IGP, in Germany, you can compete IGP with Mittlere HD. It's no problem, you can compete. It's not for breeding, but for the competition. As long as the dog is healthy and he has no pain. If that is the result, this dog can no longer compete. Not even on a IGP trial in your home club.
This is a problem, a big problem. And this is where we should be concentrating our efforts.
Yeah. And it's so hard to convince the people that this is a problem that can end our way of sports and change it totally around. And I don't know where it's going anymore. The lawyer in me, of course, says, no problem, we got to file it. We got to file that decision. Let's see what the court says.
Yep.
And the businessman said, we need to negotiate. Let's try to find out a solution. I'm not sure. And I think this is a bad way we are on right now. And
this is where we need clear and concise leadership from our organization. In the end, we talk about dogs in the service of humanity, especially the breed like a German Shepherd. It's in the service of humanity, and it has many goals. It's not everybody wants to run in a burning building, but it's the firefighter's job to do it. Not everybody wants to deal with, the bottom of society every single day, but it's the policeman's job to keep us safe because it took an oath. Unfortunately, the dogs don't have that luxury to do that. They cannot make their own decision, but there are some dogs that would be more happy with the job than just stay on the couch. I have a couple of these.
Of course, you're definitely right. No, that's not in general. Just pointing out that with all the training tools we have and everything, we sometimes we lose the focus that it affects the dog, not us. It's
with the competition. Sometimes the egos.
The training tools are there to make us the job easier.
Yes, You're right. I can't argue with that. Mr. Lang, it was a great conversation. It was my pleasure that you decided to come on and speak to me about all things regarding our beautiful breed. And I wish to do it again sometime soon with you on many other topics. I think you have a time constraint because I have 1,000 other things in my head that I want to talk to you about, but we'll leave it for another time.
And it was a really great pleasure for me. It was very nice talking to you. And of course, we can add whatever you want.
Thank you.
I'm ready for your questions. They are quite inspiring and challenging, and it was a really great pleasure.
It's my pleasure, sir. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.